So this worksheet is the Integrated 3 Graphing Sine classwork, which is the first graphing sine worksheet we did. So on this, the amplitude is 1. The vertical shift is none. My period is 2 pi. And my phase shift is none. So for this, I'm going to graph my 5 marks. 1 being starting right here on the y-axis, because this has not had a phase shift. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be 2 pi. I'm going to be going 1 above, and I'm going to be going 1 below. Now, just as a little reminder, for my sine, if I'm going around my unit circle, my x coordinate is my cosine. My y coordinate is my sine. So in this case, my y coordinate is 0. My y coordinate up here is 1. My y coordinate over here is 0. My y coordinate here is a -1. And then when I go back to 2 pi, which is at the same spot as 0, I'm at 0. So I'm really going to be graphing 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. I start at 0, I end at 0, halfway in between 0. Then in between those, I'm going to have my 1, and in between those, I'm going to have -1. So in this situation, I like to draw in for myself where my vertical shift is, because that's where my zeros are going to be. And then my highs, which are going to be my 1s, and my lows, which are going to be -1. This is where my point should always be. So when I'm graphing this, so for this, again, I start at 0, I end at 0. So I have a 0 here, I have a 0 here, and halfway in between, I have a 0. That's actually at pi. Then halfway in between these, right here, I'm going to have my 1. And halfway in between these, I'm going to have my -1. And then I'm going to connect these with a curve. And there's my graph. Okay, again, I'm only doing 1 cycle of this. So next example, my amplitude is 2 because of the number in front of my sine. My vertical shift is going to be up 1 because of this +1. My period is going to be 2 pi because I don't have a number in front of my x to shift it. And my phase shift is going to be none because there's nothing happening to my x before I take the sine of it. So I'm going to draw this. And I am going to start at a height of 1 because that is where my vertical shift is. So all my zeros are going to be there. Then I'm going to be going 2 above that. So I'm going to be up at 3, and I'm going to be going 2 below that. Okay, so here, and then go 1 below that. So at -1. So my highs are going to be here at 3. My lows are going to be here at -1. So when I'm graphing this, again, I start it. Oops, I forgot to draw in my x-axis. So I always do 5 marks, 5 points. You start here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to be 2 pi. So when I'm plotting this, I am going to start at 0, which is going to be at my vertical shift, end at 0, halfway in between these is 0. And halfway in between these, I'm going to be up at 3. And halfway in between these, I'm going to be down at -1. And then I'm going to connect this. And there's my graph. Okay, I need to see these markings. I need to see your high and low and middle. High, low, middle. I need to see where you're starting and ending a period. Okay, so I need those measurements. Okay, number 2. So for this one, I have a negative in front. So my amplitude, I take the absolute value of it. It's 1. Always take the absolute value of it. My vertical shift is down 1 because of the -1. My period, because of this 2 in front of my x, is going to be 2 pi divided by b. b is that number. Okay, so 2 pi divided by 2 is pi. And then my phase shift is none. So in this situation, when I'm drawing this, I'm going to drop it down to -1. Okay, that is where my zeros are going to be. I'm going to be going 1 above it, which puts me at 0, and 1 below, which is going to put me at a -2. So this is going to be my highs on the x-axis, and my lows are going to be down at -2. And I'm going to have 5 marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is pi. Okay, we're going from 0 to pi. And because of that negative, what's going to happen is I still am going to start and stop at 0. And when I say 0, that's where the vertical shift is. So I'm here. Halfway in between, I'm also at 0, okay, which is where my vertical shift is. Now, halfway in between these, I would normally have gone up 1, but that negative makes me go down instead. And then here, I'm going to go up. And then I connect this. And that's my sine graph. On number 4, my amplitude, I take the absolute value of -2, which is 2. My vertical shift is up 1. My period is going to be 2 pi over 3 because of this 3 here. And I have no phase shift, so this is going to be none. So I'm starting up at 1, and I'm going 2 above that, up to 3, and I'm going 2 below the 1. So 1, 2 below, I'm going to be at -1. So again, my vertical shift is at 1. The highest I'm going to go is 2 above that, which is at 3. And the lowest I'm going to go is 2 below that, which is -1. And I do my 5 markings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is going to be 2 pi thirds. So I am going to be starting at 0, ending at 0, halfway in between 0. When I say 0, again, it's wherever your vertical shift is. And then in between these, I'm going to be going up 1, and actually up to 3, okay, going 2 above, and here I'll be 2 below, right there. And there's our graph. On the next one, the amplitude is 3. The vertical shift is none. Now my period, that 2 in front of my x, whether it's inside the parentheses or outside, that is going to be my b. So I do 2 pi over b, or 2 pi over 2, and I get pi. So my period is pi. And I do have a phase shift. So to find my phase shift, I actually am going to take 2x plus pi, set it equal to 0. And so I get 2x is equal to negative pi. So I get x is equal to negative pi halves. So my phase shift is going to be left negative pi halves. Okay, so for this one's going to be shifted. So I'm going to be starting at negative pi halves. That's my start. I'm going to be going pi away because that's my period. And when I add pi onto negative pi halves, I get positive pi halves. That's going to be my end. So for this one, I'm going to draw my y-axis in the middle. I'm going to have 2 marks on either side. And then my 5th mark is this one here. And so I'm going to be going from negative pi halves to positive pi halves. I have no vertical shift. So the x-axis is where my zeros are going to be. I am going to be going 1, 2, 3 above and 1, 2, 3 below. And that's where my highs and lows will be. And when I'm going to graph this, remember my sine starts at 0, ends at 0, halfway in between 0. And then in between that will be my high, which is up at 3. And in between these will be my low, which is down at -3. And then I'm going to connect. And there's your graph. And that's the end of this video.